Well, we're going to be a little short-staffed this morning. Senator Waters is here now, but for those of you who don't know, Senator Avard had a health issue last weekend, and he won't be joining us today, and I suspect he won't be joining us all week. He's home and he's doing fine, but he just needs to rest. So I will be chairing today, and certainly keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and as far as I know, everything's going well with him. So. All right, with that, we will open up the hearing on House Bill 277, and Representative Bixby, welcome.
Okay, well, this is a momentous piece of legislation. It is correcting a long-standing injustice that's in our animal cruelty statutes, where half of the baby equine population has been deprived of its protections from animal cruelty. As it stands right now, colts are protected from being taken away from their mothers before they are weaned at 90 days, but fillies are not. And what this bill does is it changes that term from colt to foal, which is the gender-neutral term for baby equines. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? All right. It appears that no one wants to touch that, so thank you, Representative.
You're welcome.
And Rob Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Rob Johnson, representing the New Hampshire Farm Bureau as the Federation's policy director, and we are in support and would ask you to move this forward. It's something that I think our members have noticed for quite some time, and there was other legislation that we had approached the House Environment and Ag Committee leadership with introducing, and this was part of it, and they parceled this out and taken it up separately. So I'll leave it with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, this may be our shortest hearing. Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 277? All right, Representative Aaron, you saved us. I think.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Representative Judy Aaron. I'm Chair of Environment and Agriculture in the House, representing Sullivan County District 4. Towns of Ackworth, Goshen, Langdon, Leominster, and Washington. And I am here to support this bill. Came through my committee in the House, and just clean up housekeeping, and I hope you'll support it.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Aaron? All right, thanks
Thanks.
for coming over. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing on HB 277. Move to exec. Do we have some? All right, all in favor? Aye. Senator Waters, do you want to make a motion that ought to pass? Seconded by Senator Rosenwald. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Consent? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Sorry, I'm just going back to our conversation earlier. All right, Senator Waters, would you like to take this one up? All right. All in favor? Aye. And what is our next hearing time? 9:20. So we will be in recess until 9:20.
You gave that one a lot of time for extensive debate.
9:20, we're going to open the hearing. Let's go to 21, and I will recognize Representative Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. This is a pretty straightforward bill. It was put on at the request of the Public Utilities Commission, which we'll speak on it later. Basically, what it does is it allows an option. That's the big thing people ought to realize. This doesn't mandate anything. It says when figuring out the cost effectiveness of the system benefit charge, going into the future, in 2027, the PUC would have the option of opening up an adjudicative process to determine if there was a changes should be made to how that cost effectiveness is calculated. That's all it does. That would be in a full adjudicated procedures. All the people, the parties, the utilities, the OCA, the BIA, or anybody else that wanted to be involved in that could be involved in it as a normal process with the PUC. And then after that, they would make a decision as to whether there was a better method to impose. It doesn't mandate anything. It doesn't even require that they do that. It just says they have the option of doing that. And, you know, things do change. I don't have the particulars, what went on in Massachusetts over the last couple of weeks, but I know they recently announced, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that they were cutting $500 million from their energy efficiency funding from the ratepayers. So something, they must have come across something that changed during the time when they originally proposed the money. All we're saying here is let's allow the option to the PUC, so if things change in a couple of years, that they can look at this and with a full adjudicated process, have a hearing and make a determination of whether it's better to come up with a different method or not.
Thank you, Representative. Do we have questions from the committee? Senator Waters.
Good morning, and thanks
Good
for
morning.
taking the question. So anyhow, you know, you recall a few years ago when we had to do 549 on an expedited basis because we thought the legislature should set policy on this rather than the PUC. And does that, you know, sense that the legislature ought to set the policy? You don't support that anymore, or?
Well, I think that's one of those fine balances that you get into, and it's, you know, it's a very difficult, having been in the legislature and been on the PUC, I can see kind of both sides of it.
Yeah.
You get into highly technical issues that sometimes the legislature has trouble grasping, should I say. So it's always one of those things where I think giving the option to the PUC would be preferable. That's all I'm saying. It's no mandate. And of course, the legislature always has the authority to say, we don't like what you did and cancel it.
Further questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Bernardi.
Leave this on.
I'm just going to say to all of you, there's a lot of you signed up to speak, so if we can just kind of stay on point and keep it short and concise, it would be appreciated by the committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee. I will keep it short and sweet. I agree with Rep. Harrington that this is an option for the PUC and concur that they should have that option. The change, if the PUC is to implement any changes by adjudicatory hearing, so those that are in the business of providing services under the system benefits charge will have adequate time to understand how that will impact their businesses. So I believe this is a good bill.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Josh Elliott. Bring up Josh from the department.
Can we welcome your dad back?
Yes. Congrats.
Thank you, Senators. I know in my absence, Meg Stone has done a phenomenal job.
She has.
Sorry you're back to me, so my apologies for that.
But
So,
you put your ex so squarely in the middle between support and oppose. It's always hard to tell where you are.
a lot of laughs from behind me right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Josh Elliott. From the Department of Energy, serve as the Director of the Division of Policy and Programs. I will be brief. The department is neutral on this bill. I think the previous exchange between Senator Waters and the prime sponsor sort of illuminated the crux of this question here, right? As part of House Bill 549, after the Public Utilities Commission ruled in 2021 on the 2021-2023 Energy Efficiency Plan, the legislature decided that that wasn't the path that they wanted taken. House Bill 549 of that session sort of shored up the program, shored up the budget, and included in statute some pretty significant guardrails around what to be considered for the New Hampshire SAVES programs, the energy efficiency programs. In particular, as you see in the statute, the Granite State Test was enshrined in statute as one of those guardrails that the legislature decided to put into place. As you can see, the bill, as it's laid out, again, it would allow the option for the PUC to pursue another cost-benefit test if it chose, and then laid out the process by which that would go forward. Again, just to get to the crux, and I know there's a lot of people who want to speak on this issue, it's fundamentally a question of this. Currently, the legislature has decided that they wanted to weigh in and have the final say on this cost-benefit test. The legislature also, through this bill, has the decision whether or not to send that to the PUC for consideration. So it's fundamentally a question for the legislature. Do you, the royal you of the legislature, want to have control of this, or would you like to delegate it to the PUC? So with that, I will conclude my remarks.
Senator Waters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Josh. Do you have any sense from the DOE perspective whether there has been a problem or insufficiency with the Granite State Test?
The department is fine with the test.
Thank you.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Don Crease. Good morning, welcome back.
Thank you, Senator Pearl. Good morning, honorable senators. I'm Donald Crease, the consumer advocate. My job, pursuant to RSA 363, Section 28, is to represent the interests of residential utility customers. And I want to be as clear as possible about this. I am emphatically opposed to this bill, and I urge you to ITL it. In my judgment as consumer advocate, energy efficiency is by far the best thing that I or anybody else can deliver to the residential customers of this state, and this bill represents a full frontal assault on the ratepayer-funded NH Saves programs. And let me explain why that is. As Senator Waters mentioned a few minutes ago, in 2022, the legislature passed House Bill 549. And House Bill 549 became necessary because the Public Utilities Commission, by order issued in late 2021, indicated that it intended to put an end to ratepayer-funded energy efficiency programs in this state. The legislature decided that the public policy of the state is at variance with that PUC determination, and so it enshrined essentially the NH Saves programs in statute, and with it the cost-benefit test, the so-called Granite State Test, that really drives all the programs by determining which programs will be funded as cost-effective and which will not be funded. And, you know, that was an important public policy decision. It is appropriate for the legislature and not administrative agencies to make key public policy determinations, and this is one that should be retained. And let me explain exactly why this is a public policy determination that shouldn't be consigned to experts but should be made by elected officials. At the heart of any cost-benefit test that you or anybody else might apply to energy efficiency programs is the discount rate. And the discount rate is simply the math that you use to reduce, say, 30 years of benefits from energy efficiency. And really, some energy efficiency measures throw off benefits for 30 years. So you take that 30 years of energy savings and you reduce it to a net present value in order to compare the benefits that you get over those 30 years to the costs that are all under the NH Saves programs incurred upfront and immediately. And the reality is that there is no science behind the discount rate. The discount rate itself is a policy choice. If you like energy efficiency, you apply a very low discount rate. If you dislike energy efficiency, you apply a very high discount rate. And in this case, the legislature decided 3 years ago that it liked energy efficiency. That was a correct policy choice. So the proponents of this bill have told you that all the bill does is return this question to the Public Utilities Commission, and they are correct. But you should not delude yourselves about what the Public Utilities Commission will do if you take this question and say it's no longer a question for us as legislators to decide. It is now a question for the PUC as administrative adjudicators to decide. They will kill off the Granite State test. They will replace it with a cost-benefit test that applies a much higher discount rate. How do I know that? Because I have read the PUC's orders. The PUC has made crystal clear for the last 5 years that it intends to put an end to the NH Saves programs. Now, Representative Harrington told you something that I thought was pretty significant and that I didn't see in the text of the bill. He told you that he introduced this bill at the request of the Public Utilities Commission. I think there's something improper about that, frankly. The Public Utilities Commission coming here and telling you what you should tell it about its job. That is not the role of regulators in a democracy. Your job is to tell the PUC what it is supposed to do. And you have already done that via House Bill 549, and I don't think there's anything here that you should change. Again, this is because energy efficiency, negawatts with an N, are better for the people in every possible way than megawatts with an M. There's no question about that. If you like it, you apply a low discount rate. If you dislike it, you apply a high discount rate. The legislature has indicated it prefers a low discount rate. The PUC wants a high discount rate. It would like to kill NH Saves. Please do not allow it to do that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right. Oh, excuse me, Senator Rosenwald?
So should I be thinking about this as you save more money by not needing the energy than trying to lower the cost of that energy, just like you save more money by preventing colon cancer than having to treat it if you don't get a colonoscopy?
As somebody who's had 3 colonoscopies and is looking forward to his 4th, I want to think about that for a second. But
Interesting analogy.
Question is, do you save more money by not needing to use the energy than by trying to lower the cost of it?
Yes, and I think it's important, though, to think about what you and I mean when we use the word you in that sentence. You, Senator Rosenwald, in your home, if you make your home as energy efficient as it possibly can be, then you will save money on your electric and heat bill. That's you, the customer, the participant in the energy efficiency program. Ratepayer-funded energy efficiency also proceeds on the assumption, and I think it's reasonable, that there are benefits that throws off to all customers. So in the analogy that you gave, if you diagnose colon cancer early and treat it early and get it out of the way, that reduces everybody's healthcare costs. It's exactly the same thing with energy efficiency. And that's what we're really getting at here, right? Because if it was just a matter of you personally buying energy efficiency for your home, we wouldn't need to be here to talk about that. That would be a private transaction between you and whoever you're getting to weatherize your home. But it's good for all customers. That's why we have ratepayer-funded energy efficiency. It saves everybody money, and that's what the Granite State benefit cost test is designed to demonstrate empirically and mathematically. That was a great question. Thank you for asking it.
All right, seeing none, thank you, as always.
Let you know how my next colonoscopy goes.
We look forward to the update. Chase Penoyer.
Good morning, Senator Pearl and honorable members of the committee. My name is Chase Penoyer, and I'm here to oppose HB 221. I am owner and president of an energy efficiency consulting group just located down the road here in Concord. And we have 16 full-time employees that specialize in identifying and implementing energy efficiency improvements to new and existing buildings. The New Hampshire Saves program is absolutely crucial to our work. And it's no secret that it has faced political and regulatory headwinds over the years. I'll never forget that Friday evening that the departing chairperson of the PUC abolished the efficiency programs and resigned. That was emotionally damaging to all of us here. And the current PUC, it's no secret, just as Don Kreese said, that they are fundamentally opposed to energy efficiency programs as an ideal. It's buried in every single order that they release regarding the efficiency programs. So the context really matters here. And I wouldn't be here if I thought it didn't. It's the contextual foundation that is our collective opposition to HB 221 built on. New Hampshire Saves is nonpartisan. It's a program that's earned support from residents, business owners, contractors, and many others in this room today. People like the programs because they work. It's not about textbook economic theories for me as the contractor doing the work. It's about providing a program that serves the ratepayers. And that's exactly what New Hampshire Saves does. Saving money and strengthening our local economy. This term negawatts is really important because to me what that represents is money that is going to contractors doing work, and it's going to projects that are saving residents money. It's not going abroad to buy energy or across state lines even. It's about creating and sustaining good paying jobs for Granite Staters. HB 221 threatens the balanced approach that we struck with HB 549. I urge you to oppose 221 and support the existing framework of 549, which preserves our valuable and bipartisan energy efficiency programs. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Eric Stanley?
Chairman Pearl, honorable members of the committee, my name is Eric Stanley. I'm the manager of energy efficiency and customer programs at Liberty in New Hampshire. I've worked at Liberty and its predecessor companies since 2001 and have been intimately involved with its energy efficiency programs during that time, helping deliver energy efficiency services to tens of thousands of customers each year. I'm here on behalf of the company opposing the passage of House Bill 221. Many of the points that were already shared during testimony cover much of what I was going to say. Overall, my company believes that this bill is unnecessary and has the potential to create adverse impacts to ratepayers and the New Hampshire business community that delivers those energy efficiency services to ratepayers. I will note that since the inception of the New Hampshire Saves programs in 2002, the Public Utilities Commission has had the ability to scrutinize every penny expended and every unit of energy savings claimed through the programs, and the ability to examine all factors and assumptions that go into the cost effectiveness modeling of those programs. Allowing the PUC to potentially change or redefine the cost effectiveness mechanism for evaluating those programs, as this bill will do, will not provide any more access or ability to review and scrutinize those programs compared to what is already in place today with the Granite State test. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and great job summarizing. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we appreciate it. Matt Siska?
Thank you, Chairman Pearl and honorable members of the committee. My name is Matt Siska. I'm a principal with GDS Associates, an energy engineering and consulting firm based out of Bedford, New Hampshire. My area of expertise is in the design, administration, and oversight and cost-benefit testing of energy efficiency programs. Involved with programs in multiple states, including Massachusetts that was referenced earlier. Former member of the EASY Board, and my firm is currently serving as the statewide coordinator for workforce development in New Hampshire, so also pretty closely tied to the business community. I'm speaking today in opposition to the bill on two main points. First, you've heard that I believe this bill will have a detrimental impact on the business community in New Hampshire, something that HB 549 was specifically put in to try to stabilize, and this bill would have an absolutely destabilizing effect. And I can say that personally as a business owner that works, lives in New Hampshire, and employs a team that does the same, and also through my interactions with many other businesses in New Hampshire who are looking at the writing on the wall kind of caused by this bill. The second part of my comments have to do with just communicating the robust nature and process that a group of stakeholders led by the PUC went through to actually arrive at the Granite State test originally in 2019. This was a 6-month process that involved hiring an expert outside consultant who carries a very good reputation in my industry. They produced a lengthy report, went through all the aspects of cost-benefit testing, overlaid kind of policy objectives on top of that, and came to the point of the Granite State test. My personal perspective here is that if you open this back up, you're going to end up spending a bunch of time and money and resources to retread the exact same issues. The test is not the issue, and I would contend that there are a lot of levers within the current test and within the current framework to ensure that energy impacts are real, realized, and benefits are real. So I'm opposed to reopening up consideration of the test. We've gone through it. It was a very solid process. There's a long report that was produced by Synapse Economics, if that's not already in the record here, it should be, that talks about all of these issues of cost-benefit testing. And I guess the last thing I'll say is there was reference to Massachusetts and the budget reduction. I'll just clarify that has nothing to do with cost-benefit testing. That has to do with budget levels, and that has already been dealt with by HB 549.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Meehan. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm afraid it's like I didn't bring enough gum for the whole class.
That's
3
okay.
copies here, but well, thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair and honorable committee members. My name is Josh Meehan. I'm Executive Director of Keene Housing, the City of Keene's Public Housing Authority, and I'm also Chair of the New Hampshire Housing Authority Corporation's Legislative Committee. The New Hampshire Housing Authority Corporation represents the state's public housing authorities and the tens of thousands of low-income seniors, people with disabilities, and working families we help house. I'm here to express our strong opposition to HB 221. This bill, if enacted, would fundamentally undermine the cost-effectiveness test, as others have testified to today, used by the Public Utilities Commission to evaluate energy efficiency programs. And as others have said, the likely result would be the end of New Hampshire Saves as we know it during the next triennial plan. New Hampshire Saves has been a vital partner in housing authorities' efforts to reduce energy costs and extend the useful lives of the state's affordable housing portfolio. With help from New Hampshire Saves, New Hampshire's housing authorities have converted outdated, inefficient electric heating systems to high-efficiency air source heat pumps. We've improved building envelopes, upgraded lighting, installed high-efficiency exhaust systems, insulated basements, and more. And all with measurable impacts on both the affordability and long-term sustainability of our housing stock, some of which is over a century years old. It's over 100 years old, some of our stock. For example, Portsmouth Housing made over $1.6 million in energy efficiency improvements with help from NH Saves, including replacing an antiquated electric heating system at a 100-unit senior and disabled building with a new high-efficiency HVAC system. Not only does the new HVAC system provide better heating for less money, it also provides the residents with air conditioning, which is becoming a necessity, especially for seniors. New Hampshire Save has contributed to energy efficiency projects across our portfolio in Keene, too, with projects running the gamut from pretty straightforward upgrades to our appliances to very complex and comprehensive HVAC upgrades. These energy-saving efforts have helped reduce our operating costs by already over $1 million just in the past decade, and there's decades of savings to come as we make these retrofits. They save us money for decades. New Hampshire Saves is essential to our ability to preserve the state's aging housing stock, because every dollar that we save through energy efficiency, we can then reinvest into capital projects that will help keep these public resources available for future generations. At a time when federal disinvestment is accelerating, the role of state programs like NH Saves becomes even more critical for us. Eliminating one of the few opportunities that we have to reinvest in our housing while simultaneously reducing our long-term operating costs puts the Granite State's affordable housing stock at risk. I understand that the connection between the state's energy policy and our housing crisis isn't necessarily self-evident, but having worked in the NH Saves program for quite some time, I can assure you that it has quietly provided support to our housing authorities that are trying our best to keep our properties in good condition, resilient, and available to those who rely on them for safe and affordable homes. HB 221 not only threatens the continuation of New Hampshire Saves, it adds additional pressure to the stability of our housing stock, just as we're seeing further erosion in support from our federal partners. We urge you to reject this bill and protect the ability of communities across the state to invest in energy efficiency, resilience, and for us, what is most important, long-term housing affordability. Thanks very much for your time, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Senator Waters.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, thanks. I'm pretty familiar with a energy efficiency project that was done at Somersworth Public Housing a few years ago. It's in District 4. And what struck me was the incredible increase in the kind of tightness of the units, completely re-insulated, new appliances. And would it be fair to say that it's as much about saving energy as it is about public health, that often elderly, infirm, disabled people are now in a unit that is warmer, has better exhaust facilities and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. And I think what folks I hope will keep in mind is that, especially if we're looking at the public housing program in the United States, the capital subsidy that housing authorities receive to do this sort of work, and it's windows, roofs, building envelope, HVAC, all of it, it's in the best of times getting 25 cents on the dollar for what is actually needed. And the capital backlog of the public housing portfolio in the country is in the tens of billions. And there's no hope of rescue coming from the feds. So for us, these opportunities to do the kind of work that you're talking about are extraordinarily important, not only for the health of the people who are there today, but if we want these public resources to even exist decades from now, it's programs like New Hampshire Saves, it's opportunities for the state to help, to be a partner to us, becomes more and more critical.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Nick Krakoff, we'll bring you up. Good morning, good to see you again.
Yeah, nice seeing you. Good morning, Commissioner, committee members. My name is Nick Krakoff. I'm with the Conservation Law Foundation. I'm a senior attorney there. I'm here today to testify in opposition to HB 221. I also have written comments here that I'd like to hand out. I agree with a lot of what the prior witnesses have said, so I don't want to repeat what they've already testified about. But I do want to draw your attention to one point that I don't think has been mentioned today, and that is sort of the justification that the commissioners themselves have provided for why this bill is needed. If you look at the hearing testimony of the commissioners at the January 27th hearing before House ST&E, I think it really provides some insights into the commission's thinking and into why, really why this bill is unnecessary. At that hearing, the commissioners criticized the Granite State test because they claimed it only analyzes the bill and rate costs of energy efficiency programs, but doesn't look at the full costs of the programs. In other words, they were saying that a proper test will look at the full societal or holistic costs of the programs. But this is really inconsistent with other things that the commission has said in other dockets recently. Recently in the net metering docket, basically the commission said that they didn't need to look at, in response to an argument by Conservation Law Foundation, they basically said that the commission does not need to look at societal benefits or holistic benefits of programs. such as environmental benefits, health benefits, economic benefits. Basically, the commission said that it's the commission's role just to evaluate financial costs and benefits to ratepayers. Stop. That's basically what they said their role was. That's it. They said they didn't have the expertise to evaluate non-financial costs and benefits. Basically costs unrelated and benefits unrelated to reductions in rates. So basically consider, it said it did not need to look at those holistic benefits of programs. This is highly inconsistent with what the commission is now saying, with respect to this legislation. Here they're saying that that is deficient because it does not look at the full societal costs. Okay, that's what they're saying. But in the other docket, they're saying they need to look at they cannot look at the full societal benefits because they don't have the expertise. What's happening here is that the commission is really setting up a scenario where they only look at one half of the ledger properly, that they look at the full societal costs, but not the full societal benefits, which would create a very skewed view of sort of, what the costs and benefits of programs look like. Given what the commission itself said at that hearing, they have not provided a valid justification for why this legislation is needed, and I urge you to ITL this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Michael Turcott. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Senator. I'm writing to express my strong opposition to HB 221, which proposes to change the New Hampshire evaluates the cost effectiveness of energy efficiency programs, as many of my peers have spoken about before. I'll spare you my long, lengthy opposition, but the general consensus is that I'm in agreement with my peers that the PUC has basically indicated that their job is to axe this. And I would ask for you, as a business owner that makes large impact, I'm a 38-year-old man who started this business at a very young age, and we've made a large impact in our community. And I feel like very regularly we're under siege to protect the program that has proven to be viable and is a benefit to the community of New Hampshire. With that, I ask you to ITL this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the committee?
Oh, sorry.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just please introduce yourself?
I'm so sorry about that. My name is Michael Turcott, and I'm the owner of Turncycle Solutions.
Thank you.
My mistake. Sorry about that.
I missed that.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
All right. Our last one that I have signed up is Griffin Robers. Did you want to bring Mark with you too, or? Max, if you want to see if there's anybody else on the additional sheet there. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Griffin Roberge, Manager of Government Affairs with Eversource, and with me today,
Mark Manager, Supervisor of our Energy Efficiency Programs in New Hampshire and Connecticut.
So thank you very much for the opportunity to testify here today. Eversource is respectfully opposed to House Bill 221. This bill is identical to House Bill 1036 that this committee and the Senate found just to ITL last year. While appreciative of the sponsor's intent, we do feel the legislature, as has been discussed today, made the right call a couple of years ago when it passed House Bill 549 and codified the Granite State test into law. At the time, the legislature heard a significant amount of concern from a wide range of industry stakeholders and the public about the need for certainty and stability in New Hampshire SAVES programs. Stability is certainly critical for the utilities like us who administer these programs, for the contractors that you've heard from today who do the energy efficiency work for customers, and obviously the customers who avail themselves of these programs to reduce their energy usage and energy costs. We do view that modifying the Granite State test or, allowing the development of different tests through an undefined process does raise some concerns. Passage of this bill could lead to an uncertain environment that many experienced prior to House Bill 549's implementation from a few years ago. The current Granite State test was developed through a collaborative, lengthy stakeholder process that took, I believe, a little less than 2 years. The current framework, we contend, works very well. Since this test's inception. Every filing that Eversource has made has received unanimous support in using the Granite State test as the cost test for New Hampshire Saves programs. I guess I'll conclude and just again contend that we do feel that the current process functions well for successful program implementation for the contractors that you've heard from today, as well as the customers we serve. And with that, happy to take any questions, and I'll close out there.
Did you want to speak too, or?
Ditto.
All right, ditto. Got it. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, did you want to speak? All right. Matt Mayberry from the Home Builders? Sorry, I thought you would check the no box.
I checked the wrong box.
All right, fair enough.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Senators. Again, I apologize for checking the wrong box.
We'll be okay.
Excellent. My name is Matt Mayberry. I'm the CEO of the New Hampshire Home Builders Association, representing the 27,000 women and men who work in the residential trades. Let's start by saying, when the Conservation Law Foundation and the New Hampshire Home Builders agree on something, you know this is going to be a bad bill. Dogs and cats are sleeping together. It's just mayhem all over the place. We're here talking about and supporting the 3,000 families that rely on you folks to stay in their homes. At the Home Builders, we have a foundation called Hammers for Veterans, and I get calls about 2 or 3 times a week. Correction, I get a call about every 2 to 3 weeks of a veteran who's living in a single wide in rural New Hampshire who's cold. Mice, squirrels, others have just eaten the insulation. There's one veteran in my testimony that I talk about who goes around and looks for old couches on the side of the road so he can take the cushions and cut them up and wrap them around his water pipes to try to keep them from freezing. New Hampshire Saves in this weatherization program helps very, very much. A couple things I take umbrage with from past testimonies was when one of the representatives mentioned that the PUC needs to do this on their own because you folks don't understand complicated language. That is above your pay grade on these complicated smart issues. Well, Senators, there should be no rule or legislation coming before you that the average person can't pick up and read and understand the first time. If it's so complicated that you can't understand it, something's wrong with their process. Nowhere in there does it talk about a collaborative effort. Nowhere in their testimony do they talk about working together with the stakeholders. They said it's an adjudicated process so they can understand the impact. We're going to tell you what we're going to do to you, and you can just sit there and take it. Well, Senators, we worked together a few years ago to stop that kind of attitude from coming forward. Unanimously, you rejected that. Unanimously, you said, we are the policymakers, not an unelected bureaucrat or a technocrat. I don't want an AI algorithm to determine where my low-income veterans who are calling for help, where they're going to get that help from. I trust you. I need you, please, to help 3,000 New Hampshire families. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because growing up, my mom was in a really abusive relationship with my father. He was a drunk. He drank all the money that went to the oil. It was a program like New Hampshire Saves that came in and put in new windows in our home and put insulation in there so that $100 that she could put in for oil, that lasted 3 weeks instead of a week. I know this program works. 60 years later, it's still in my head. I'm a big champion of this program. Please, Senators, help me. Please help 3,000 families. ITL means do no harm. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anybody else that would like to testify on House Bill 221? Got one in the back? Come on up. Are you folks together or? No. No, okay. Just, I'm going to ask you to sign in on the sheet when you're done testifying, please.
Yes, I will definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Crowell and committee members. My name is Ryan Cluthier.
Turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
Is it on now?
Yes, it is.
My name is Ryan Cluthier. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with the Community Action Partnership, Hillsborough and Rockingham counties. Started my career 20 plus years ago as an energy auditor and am now the COO with the company. I'm here today as a community action agency. We're neutral on the bill. However, I just wanted to make a few comments if I could. In reviewing House Bill 221, we felt it was important to share with the committee information regarding the connection between the Granite State Test and its relationship to the utility-funded income-eligible weatherization assistance program, better known as the Home Energy Assistance Program. Community action agencies have been contracted to deliver the weatherization assistance program through the Department of Energy with federal funding from the Federal Department of Energy since the late 70s. The DOE funds have always been a valuable resource to leverage with the home energy assistance dollars to help stretch these HEA funds and allow for deep energy retrofits to more low-income homes. Community Action Partnership, Hillsborough, Rockingham counties has enrolled over 10,500 families into our LIHEAP program this season alone, and we're still accepting applications as we speak. Each of these households meets the eligibility for the WAP and HEA program, with many in need of significant upgrades to help reduce their energy burden. This program is highly accountable as it is administered by the 5 community action agencies with oversight from the utilities who report regularly to the PUC. Every job completed receives complete inspection to ensure every dollar is spent as effectively and as efficiently as possible. Many of these jobs leverage federal dollars, which create that additional layer of review to ensure accountability. Both the federally funded WAP program and HEA program require computer modeling to ensure measures meet a savings to investment ratio or a benefit to cost ratio of 1 or greater. On average, we're able to reduce a home's energy consumption by 20%, and in some cases, we've seen consumption drop more than 50%. For families struggling to decide between putting food on the table, paying their rent, these energy savings are crucial for their path to economic stability. The network as a whole has built up and trained many experienced auditors, in-house employee crews, and independent private sector contractors. We've tried and tested the most efficient ways to reduce energy while addressing the health and safety concerns within these homes in a way that significantly reduces the energy burden on these families, while also reducing the dependence on limited dollars at local welfare offices. The Granite State Test was supported by the legislature and has contributed to the success of this program. New Hampshire has received national recognition for our ability to leverage our federal DOE WAP dollars with this utility HEA program. Any changes to this structure can have a ripple effect on the program and local communities and could eliminate these well-built efficiencies, which in turn could potentially cost local communities and taxpayers more in the long run. Not only does this program provide a significant reduction in fuel usage to eligible families, but it also addresses health and safety concerns. It reduces the need for fuel and electric assistance, and in many cases, it eliminates that need for families to seek emergency assistance from their local welfare office. Due to current inflation, families of low income are continually making that choice between heating their home and paying for rent, medication, and food. Our clients often live in some of the most depleted housing stock and in serious need of weatherization. We feel it's crucial the committee keep the current structure intact to ensure we avoid any potentially devastating consequences. The work through the Weatherization Assistance Program by the Community Action Agency is highly reputable both statewide and nationally, and leaves low-income families with greatly reduced energy bills while improving their health and safety and quality of life. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm willing to take any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, just make sure you sign up on the sheet,
Will do.
please.
Thank you very much.
And we have one more that wants to speak? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Are we on here?
Nope, hit the button. There you go.
We're working on that. Thank you much. For the record, my name is Alec O'Mara. I am the Director of External Affairs for Unitil, and I am here to speak in opposition of House Bill 221. This is a situation, being towards the end of the speakers that have already spoken, plenty has already been said far more eloquently as to the value of these programs, then I can say this is more of a situation of wanting to ensure our voice is added to those who support the Granite State test and believe in the value of energy efficiency programs for folks in New Hampshire. Unitil, as a company, believes in supporting programs that allow our customers to take control of their own energy usage, in so long as those programs ensure that they are able to be delivered in a manner that is affordable for all. And we believe New Hampshire Saves, under the Granite State test, absolutely fills that void. It provides a valuable service for our customers. And with the Granite State test in place, it ensures a degree of stability for these programs going forward, not just for our customers, but as well as the businesses that help implement and support these programs. So not unlike how Eversource and Liberty have spoken about this previously today, Unitil also wanted to make it clear that we believe in the value of energy efficiency programs, and we believe in the Granite State test as an excellent solution for making sure these programs are doing what they're supposed to do.
Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate you coming in. Any questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, just please make sure you sign up.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Last call. All right, we're going to close the hearing on 221. Who's introducing the next one? Doug, are you? All right. And we'll open the hearing on House Bill 672 and recognize Representative Thomas to introduce. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Senate Committee here. My name is Doug Thomas. I am representing Rockingham County 16, which is Londonderry, and I'm the Vice Chair of the House Energy and Science Committee. I'm here to introduce House Bill 672 on behalf of Chairman Vose, who was unable to be here today. So if you please, I would like to read his written testimony out of courtesy to him. I've also passed around copies of the testimony, and also there is a copy of a presentation that goes along with this as well, and there will be someone behind me that will speak to that as well. So again, Senate colleagues, from Representative Vose. HB 672 passed the House with a bipartisan vote of 215 to 132. This bill enables the building of off-grid electricity generation facilities. Such facilities would be exempt from all utility regulation, since an off-grid supplier is not a public utility. They would be subject to siting regulation, which primarily serves to protect natural resources. See the attached slides for additional explanation of consumer-regulated electricity, which is being passed around. This enabling legislation would spark innovation in the deployment of energy generation that serves a distinct customer base and would be regulated only by the contract developed between the buyer and seller. The most logical application of this capability would be a data center. Such a business could be a boon to the state's economy. The amendment added a reference to the applicability of local, municipal, and state roadway and safety regulations. In short, HB 672's provisions include zero cost to ratepayers and taxpayers, innovative because generators are island from the grid, breaks down regulatory barriers to innovation, faster time to build due to lack of regulatory interference, eliminate need for PUC oversight, freedom to build and innovate rapidly, consumers get what they want, future scalability, reduced regulatory and grid risk, ease stress on grid ratepayers, welcome new businesses, economic development tool, test bed for regulated utilities, indirect competitive pressure for regulated utilities, and zero cost, zero risk to ratepayers. The passage by the House of HB 710 and HB 672 makes New Hampshire a leader in 21st century energy policy. Embracing encumbered free market innovation in HB 672 while giving our state's utilities a way to procure clean and dependable nuclear energy in HB 710, plus puts us out in front of our neighbors and adds energy resilience to the New Hampshire advantage. Representative Michael Vose. Obviously, there's a bill coming afterwards that will kind of coexist with this bill as well. With that being said, all I can say is we are in changing times now. Energy decisions and policies must adapt to what's going on. We must be able to move quickly, and I think giving the opportunity, giving the options to both developers, policymakers, and so forth is important for New Hampshire to be able to respond rapidly to whatever we need in terms of energy needs. If we want more economy to come to the state, and if more energy is needed, I think the adoption of this bill would certainly give us the ability to think outside the box and to enable other measures of how we can better accommodate businesses that might need massive amounts of energy. And I think this just opens up the idea of innovation. I think sticking with status quo all the time, never having the opportunity to change what is currently here, sometimes can lead to stagnation, and it also can stifle innovation. So I hope the Senate considers adoption of this bill as a way to provide an opportunity and options for New Hampshire to move forward in the energy field as we try to invite more businesses to come here.
Thank you, Representative. Do we have any questions from the committee? Seeing none?
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Rep. Bernardi? Good morning, welcome back.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. Rep. J.D. Bernardi, Rockingham 36, Hampton Falls, Kensington, Southampton, Newton, and Plastow. So this bill, House Bill 672, simply permits generation and sale of electricity to a customer not connected to the grid. It's that simple. All the laws relating to monopoly costs of utilities, reliability and safety of the grid are not relevant then. But all the other business laws still remain. Your employment law, your safety laws with police, fire, and occupational safety, taxation, environmental laws, facility siting, all those laws still apply. So the key is the generator must be disconnected from the grid. Why would you want to do this? There are certain businesses that are very high power users that need a lot of power reliably. We're looking at data centers and AI coming into the market. So these are potential users that would be very interested in having a sole source reliable generator, not connected to the grid. That's the purpose, that's the innovation that Rep. Thomas was talking about. We certainly support this. We see that, as an example, Microsoft is working with the remaining reactor at 3 Mile Island to restart that as a source. What one could envision that small-scale modular reactors be developed as sources for this kind of data center power need or other industries having that type of need.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Senator Rosenbaum?
Mr. Chairman, could this be a place where the Burgess biomass plant could generate power for some Bitcoin miner that wanted to locate up there?
Certainly, if Bitcoin miner or other businesses that wanted reliable power could do a contract with Burgess, potentially that could be a sole source provider. They would have to run continuously or have programmed downtime in order to make sure that they provided that contract need. But yes, it could.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. All right, Griffin, we'll bring you up in the beginning this time. I made you wait till last time. But I didn't know whether you supported or opposed, so I said, well, we'll find out and bring him up.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Pearl. Surprise neutral. So there isn't a box for that. So thank you very much, members of the committee. Griffin Roberge, Manager of Government Affairs with Eversource. As I think folks in the committee are aware, I did distribute an email to committee members earlier this week with a helpful, what we would contend, a helpful amendment to clarify some provisions of the bill if you wish to move forward with it. I did just distribute an amendment for your review, and I'm glad to kind of step through it and walk you through the changes. So looking at the amendment I just kind of offered on lines 7 to 9, we think that those changes would help make clear that off-grid electricity providers cannot be interconnected with a regulated utilities transmission or distribution system, either for primary or backup supply. We have, as a regulated utility, we have had instances in other service territories where a large data center is sited behind a large generator, and they argue that interconnecting to our grid for backup power is not a connection to the grid. In our view, if such a provider such as this is connected to the grid, whether for backup power or primary power, they are connected. Since utilities like Eversource, we need to design our system to serve customer loads, have various projections, make sure we're not overloading the system. Customers who require even backup service need to pay for that interconnection. So we feel that this language is helpful there. The changes on lines 9 to 10 would further prohibit off-grid electricity providers from constructing in or crossing federal, state, or local roadways. Under the bill, and as has been mentioned in previous testimony, these off-grid electricity providers are not public utilities. They're not subject to the regulation that regulated utilities are, and won't need to necessarily comply with safety statutes that Eversource, Unitil, and Liberty and other regulated utilities comply with. We construct our infrastructure to meet modern safety standards with robust controls in accordance, again, with state, federal, regional rules and statutes. Off-grid electricity providers, under the way that this bill is currently constructed, could construct their system to lower safety standards. They may not have the ability to monitor or remotely shut off power in the case of emergencies. And it could also create duplicative infrastructure that could lead to customer and first responder confusion. A common example is, say, a weather event occurs, tree comes down, there's cars on the roadway, and all of a sudden there's energized wires on the road. First responders might appear and call us to de-energize those wires, but they don't belong to us. They might belong to one of these off-grid electricity providers. So I think, preventing this case of duplicative infrastructure will kind of help address some of those potential future safety concerns that may arise. And then finally, our final suggested language on lines 19 to 22 just makes clear that should an off-grid electricity provider in the future decide to interconnect to our system, that they must pay for the costs incurred for that interconnection. It is a long-standing practice in New Hampshire statute that other customers do not subsidize the interconnection costs of another. So we want to make clear that if an off-grid electricity provider, again, connects in the future, that they are the ones bearing the cost for any necessary upgrades. And with that, happy to take any questions from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Do you have any questions from the committee? Senator Rosenwald?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if one of these off-grid providers breaks down, who gets called?
Thank you for the question. So I think that is a worthy question to ask. We work very closely with first responders in the communities that we operate to ensure that should an emergency arise, first responders have a dedicated point of contact in the case of an emergency. Based on what I've heard previously, to kind of exempt these off-grid electricity providers from a lot of the safety regulations that regulated utilities follow, I think that might be incumbent upon, whoever the off-grid electricity provider is to work with whatever town, whatever first responders might be in the area, but, you know, I don't see any requirement for that or anything.
Follow?
Thank you. Should it be clarified that the regulated utility doesn't get the call?
Sure, so I would respectfully submit that might be something for this committee to consider, you know, also with the bill sponsors. I understand the intent of this bill is to drive at innovation and to maybe not necessarily subject these providers to maybe necessarily a lot of the regulations that regulate utilities have. I don't necessarily have an answer for that. Yeah, I think that's something that this committee might want to consider with the prime sponsors of the bill. Thank you.
Further questions? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Lyons. Max, could we lift that window just a little? It's hot in here.
Oh, sure. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Glenn Lyons. I am the founder of Advocates for Consumer Regulated Electricity, which is an informal organization working to increase the economic freedom in the electricity sector in order to help meet the rapid demand growth without increasing risks for existing consumers. So I'm here today on behalf of that organization in support of HB 672. Before proceeding, just some quick terminology. What I call consumer regulated electricity is the same concept as off-grid electricity providers that's found in the House bill. So consumer regulated electricity began as a thought exercise as to how to match up the fast-growing demand for electricity from businesses like data centers with the slow-moving supply that comes from our electricity sector. The misalignment of supply and demand gets worse, though. First, the rapid growing demand forecasts that everybody talks about have tremendous uncertainty. Second, the electricity sector is heavily regulated and difficult to change. Now, the sector must move slowly and be difficult to change as it balances the interests of diverse stakeholders and ensures that reliability is never compromised. This then is our first important insight. The existing sector cannot easily be changed without creating winners and losers or introducing new risk. Our second important insight is that there's no reason not to allow suppliers and buyers to move outside of the regulated sector, provided they can't impact it. If a new data center wants to buy power from an off-grid provider that can't impact the cost or reliability of the regulated grid, there's no reason for the New Hampshire PUC to be involved. And by avoiding PUC oversight, off-grid electricity providers will be able to move faster and innovate far beyond anything in the existing sector. Now, the potential benefits from off-grid providers are great, not only for investors in these businesses and their customers, but the rest of New Hampshire as well. So let me start with a few of the benefits for the investors and the customers. First of all, off-grid providers won't be constrained by the requirements, operational parameters, et cetera, of the existing grid, and they can therefore design and build whatever makes sense for their customers. Second, off-grid providers, since they aren't constrained, can also innovate in any way that makes sense. Innovation is critically important because, as Matt Ridley, the author who turned his study of innovation into the book, How Innovation Works and Why It Flourishes in Freedom, says, innovation is the child of freedom and the parent of prosperity. We need the electricity sector to be more innovative to ensure future prosperity. 3, large consumers of electricity like data centers will be attracted to off-grid providers because speed to market has extraordinary value to their business. 4, large consumers will also suddenly find that they have competitive options. Competition drives down costs and improves quality. 5, large consumers can pay for what they want instead of paying for the same basic products and services that everybody else gets on a regulated grid. If they want the cheapest electricity, they can have that. If they want 100% zero carbon electricity, they can have that. Now, I think this is the best part of the bill. The rest of New Hampshire will benefit as well. And I've got four bullet points about that. So number one, with off-grid providers, the state can welcome large businesses without worrying as much about their impact on the electricity grid. Number two, every large business that chooses an off-grid supplier reduces the cost and reliability risk that might have otherwise been imposed on other ratepayers. Number three, faster and more innovative electricity supplies will give New Hampshire a competitive advantage over other states in attracting businesses and thereby effectively becoming a free economic development tool. And then my last point, off-grid providers can be viewed as innovation test beds for the regulated sector. The regulated sector can let off-grid providers do the difficult work of innovating, which requires a lot of trial and error that the regulated sector cannot afford to do. When the regulated sector sees an innovation that works, well, then you can see how you might be able to safely bring that into the regulated sector. Now, a recent Wall Street Journal article was titled, "Economic Growth Now Depends on Electricity, Not Oil." And we agree. Electricity is indeed the backbone of our modern economy. It's about time we brought it into the modern economy. And HB 672 will enable just that. I've given you my notes for my written testimony. I've also a one-page sort of summary of the benefits of consumer-regulated electricity or off-grid providers. And thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I'm curious just what your business is. It says advocates. Are you lobbyists?
No, there is no business. This literally started out as a thought exercise with a colleague who's also worked in the electricity sector, and we walked away from it and thought, we have something useful here. It would be irresponsible of us not to pursue it. I have the luxury, I worked for 37 years for ExxonMobil Corporation. I'm retired. I can afford to not find a new job. And so this is what I'm doing with my retirement. I am pursuing this in the interest of New Hampshire and other states as well.
Thank you for your, right. I know, the orange badge.
Well, I was thinking of the orange badge.
Yes. Thank you. All right, we got three more folks. I'm just going to ask you guys to kind of move it along as quickly as you can. We are running a little short on time. Josh Elliott, DOE.
Good morning again. For the record, Josh Elliott, Director of the Division of Policy and Programs. I will be brief. I think as Mr. Roberge from Eversource laid out, there's a couple of key considerations in the bill. Just in terms of highlighting for the committee that as written, the definition of off-grid electricity providers does exempt any of these entities from any of the safety regulations or consumer protections found in Title 34, which are all the statutes that govern, I'm sure that are overseen by the Department of Energy and the Public Utilities Commission. So in conjunction with that, it's not clear how any safety issues would be addressed, which I think Mr. Roberge had highlighted as well. And then lastly, in terms of these, the actual connection, if you're to think of like the line diagram between all of these different entities, if a consumer would be allowed to be connected to both one of these off-grid generators, off-grid electricity providers, as well as be connected to the rest of the grid as sort of a backup or as a secondary, how that would be governed and how that interaction would work. I have not seen the amendment, but in terms of the details that Mr. Roberge had mentioned in his amendment, I think that would address some of these issues. Obviously, we want to take it back to the folks of the department to dot I's and cross T's, but in terms of the innovative pieces of it, I have no objections to any of the things that either the representatives have mentioned or the proponents of the bill have mentioned.
Thank you, Josh. Questions from the committee? I'm sure you'll be there if we need you as a resource.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Don Kreis?
Thank you, Senator Pearl. I'm Donald Kreis, still the consumer advocate, and pursuant to your warm suggestion, I will be extremely brief. I'm in support of this bill. The Venerable Neil Kirk, who is a member of my office's advisory board, claims that I am a liberal, and assuming for the sake of argument that Neil is correct, I will just say that as consumer advocate, I am always alert to interesting and cool policy ideas that bubble up from across the spectrum, if you'll forgive the mixed metaphor. And Representative Chairman Vose mentioned this bill to me a few months ago, and I put out some social media saying I was intrigued. And then Mr. Lyons, who you've already heard from, was kind enough to meet with me to elaborate on this idea, as he has just done for you. And I think it is intriguing enough for you to seriously consider recommending this bill to the floor for passage. There are a few things to keep in mind. One, there is a bit of a trade-off here, I think. Data centers are going to be very expensive for the electric grids in any state that installs any of them. And I think the same thing is true of Bitcoin mining operations or any of these emerging computer-related technologies that use up a lot of energy. That has the potential to be bad for all customers. On the other hand, if you take big users of electricity and you encourage them to defect from the grid, that means that those users don't contribute to all the fixed costs that the rest of us contribute to. So there is that potential downside to the bill. But overall, I think on balance, this is an idea worth pursuing. I haven't seen the amendments that Mr. Roberge alluded to, but I have a feeling from having listened to what he said about them that I would support them. To some degree, the bill is unnecessary because I don't think it would be illegal for a project like this to be developed now without becoming a public utility. But I still think that enshrining it in statute and putting New Hampshire on record as being interested and supportive of an idea like this is probably a good idea, just like using propofol for colonoscopies is a good idea.
We're back to that, huh?
Well, that's the theme of the day for me, at least.
All right. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank
Any
you.
questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you. And Sam Evans-Brown?
I think I signed up on the wrong bill.
Oh, all right.
Apologies about that.
No problem. That's all I have. Anybody else that would like to testify? We got one in the back. Come on up.
1 minute.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Morning. Good to be here. Drew Beamer, Site Evaluation Committee. I just wanted to mention that anything utility scale pursuant to 162H is going to be, it's going to still go through the SEC process, whether it's a utility or not. So a lot of the concerns about safety and security issues are things that will be adjudicated and spelled out in a certificate of operation. And we recently changed the enforcement protocols on that a year or two ago. So DOE would be in charge of investigations and enforcement, and then the adjudication of that would go to my committee. So security, this would not permit you to skip over the SEC, in other words. So that part would remain unchanged.
So what would be considered utility scale?
I think it's over 30 megawatts, I believe. And you mentioned data centers as an example. A small data center these days, they banter about 100 megawatts. So anything that was co-located generation to power a data center would most likely be utility scale.
Okay. Thank you, Drew. Questions? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm confused now because I think in previous bills we've heard that the Site Evaluation Committee really only looks at landscape issues, not safety issues.
When you build a power plant, things like, and certainly when you also transfer a power plant, your ability to operate the facility safely is going to be baked into a certificate of operation. So you have to be able to prove that not only can you construct a facility, but that you can safely operate a facility. And that is inclusive of things like major health and safety concerns. It's also inclusive of things like noise violations. So you would still be required to follow the same standards as any other generation facility. The difference would be, since you're not a utility, you wouldn't have an impact on ratepayers, theoretically. But I just read the bill and I noticed that 162H is specifically spelled out in there. So I just wanted to just offer my opinion, while totally agnostic on the bill itself, that if you were to build something under this, or as Mr. Crease identified, possibly this may be illegal now, to be honest with you. If you were to build co-located generation for a high energy usage facility, you would still have to go through the SEC.
All right, thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, appreciate it. Jim, you want to speak? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be quick as well. I didn't intend to testify, but then I saw the Eversource, did not see, but heard about the Eversource amendments. So just as a way of background, I do work with the New England Power Generators Association and most of the large generating facilities, which are also developers in the state. I'm concerned about, and I'm sure we can work it out with Mr. Roberge, but the amendments, as we described, I think go too far because they create absolute prohibitions. And particularly in light of Mr. Beamer's testimony, this says a lot of this type of activity would require a certificate from the SEC. So issues around, safety, being able to, interact with local first responders, all of that would be dealt with in that context. I also, while I think it may not have been mentioned by the sponsors, but this is an important part of the development in the manufacturing space, where in states like New Hampshire, part of the sales pitch is we have an environment where you can bring your own power. In high rate states, that sometimes become a problem, that the cost of Eversource's power is too high, and so folks are starting to take a look at developing their own facilities and being able to interconnect. This points that in the right direction. So I think we need to accommodate the concerns of the monopoly utilities and others, but I think it's doable, and I think it's particularly important with regard to sending the message around that bring your own power messaging from an economic development perspective.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from the committee? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, we're going to.
I have a general question.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to, I don't need to bring them forward, just a comment. Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have the titans of the House Science and Technology sitting here today, sitting on this side, which I never have. I would just like to see if Representative Voice and members, you're all signed on here, if you could get back to this committee and tell me what your thoughts are on the Eversource amendments. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the courtesy.
All right, with that, I'm going to close the hearing on House Bill 672. And are you doing 710 as well? All right, we'll open up House Bill 710 and recognize Representative, gosh, my head just went blank. Thomas, thank you. Representative Thomas, to introduce on behalf of Representative Vos.
As I tell everyone, I'm the taller one of the Thomases. Well, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, again, and Senate members. And again, my name is Doug Thomas, representative of Rockingham 16 from the town of Londonderry and Vice Chair of the House Energy Science Committee. And once again, I am privileged to introduce House Bill 710 on behalf of Chairman Vos, who is unable to be here today. I will say that this bill, going into his testimony, I have his written testimony right here. House Bill 710 passed the House with a bipartisan vote of 259 to 85. This bill, as amended, allows utilities to sign purchase power agreements with advanced nuclear resources for the acquisition of up to 20% of a utility's need for electrical energy. It signals that New Hampshire is open for business for nuclear energy. This groundbreaking legislation will put New Hampshire on the leading edge of states that that recognize the importance of nuclear energy. It builds on 2022's Senate Bill 54 that allows long-term energy contracts from new sources by adding advanced nuclear resources to the list of allowable resources. The amendment removed the original bill's provision that allowed utilities to own or invest in advanced nuclear resources, which could be expensive for ratepayers. The amended bill avoids this burden while still allowing the acquisition of nuclear power from a willing seller. Its emphasis on new resources opens the door for encouraging the building of small modular reactors in New Hampshire. The emphasis on new resources is important due to the existing statutory limit of 2 million megawatts for all PPAs. This modest limit allows acquisition of significant load while recognizing that PPAs have negative effects on long-term prices. In short, HB 710 does the following. It adds a definition to Statute of Advanced Nuclear Resources, allows New Hampshire utilities to enter long-term contracts to purchase power from advanced nuclear resources. Utilities can buy up to 20% of their electricity from new nuclear sources. Contracts can be up to 20 years. Utilities have until 2035 to request bids from nuclear suppliers, and it proclaims that New Hampshire is open for business for clean and dependable nuclear energy. The passage of HB 710 and HB 672 that you heard previously will make New Hampshire a leader in 21st century energy policy. Embracing unencumbered free market innovation in HB 672 that we previously heard, while giving our state's utilities a way to procure clean and dependable nuclear energy in HB 710, puts us out in front of our neighbors and adds energy resilience to the New Hampshire Advantage, Representative Michael Bowes. So this bill, again, says to potential investors, we are open for business. And I'd like to stress that, at least in my opinion, any nuclear resources that might be involved would most likely be the new, safer technology, more reliable technology, particularly in small-scale nuclear. And it is something that New Hampshire has the ability to move on and take advantage of this new technology, not today, not tomorrow, but perhaps in the next foreseeable years coming, where this technology is beginning to grow throughout the country, and perhaps, in my opinion, within the next 5 or so years, will be a little more prevalent, and this just allows us to get a head start, put New Hampshire in the front, and telling people, hey, when you're ready, we're open.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the committee? Senator Rosen.
Thank you for taking my question. I'm looking for the 20% limit in the bill. Where is that?
Well, I will admit that I was not a sponsor or co-sponsor on this bill, and so I'm not particularly adverse as to where that would refer to in the bill. Do you have the current bill as amended? It came out of the House. I will have to get back. I will make sure that we get back to you, Senator. That's good. If you can't see it in the bill, that's a very good question. I will find out.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
Behind that was the question of where did you get to 20% from?
We'll certainly find out if you
Thank
and get back to you. Thank you for the question.
All right, further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. Rep. Bernardi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Again, Rep. J.D. Bernardi, Rockingham 36, Hampton Falls, Kensington, Southampton, Newton, and Plastow. I fully support what Vice Chair Thomas has said. He explained the bill quite well. It defines what advanced nuclear technology is and basically says, and I don't know where the 20% is, although I read it yesterday in preparing for this. 20% of a utility's supplies could be tied up with purchase power agreements for these kinds of facilities. It sends that message. We are open for this kind of business. And the one thing that wasn't mentioned, it also facilitates information and education programs regarding nuclear safety. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none? Representative C, did you want to speak? You checked off no. All right, just want to make sure I didn't skip you. Josh, we'll bring you back up.
Good morning again. For the record, Josh Elliott, Director of the Division of Policy and Programs in New Hampshire Department of Energy. I think Representative Thomas laid out what exactly this bill does. I just wanted to provide some of the larger context, which I think answer Senator Rosenwald's question. Dan Bray, my apologies. This is nested within, if you remember from a few years ago, Senate Bill 54, which allowed for purchase power agreements from particular sources as long as a way to hedge against sort of the spike in prices that we saw a few years ago on the price of electricity. So this change that's proposed in House Bill 710 is then nested within those existing statutes, which is where the numbers, the 2 million megawatt hours, et cetera, which you don't see necessarily in the bill, but it is sort of folded around these. There is an additional allowance that this bill allows for that you see in sections 2 and in sections 3 in particular that allow for these types of projects to be also eligible under the same framework. So as Representative Thomas laid out sort of the process, the utilities would issue an RFP, the Public Utilities Commission, and would then evaluate the responses to those RFPs. And there's 6 criteria that I just want to list very quickly here that exist in the current statute, would still be applicable here, that the Public Utilities Commission would review the responses and then make a decision based on these questions. Whether or not an agreement is cost effective to the electric ratepayers over the term of the agreement, whether it creates or supports electric energy resources that are expected to be available during long duration weather events, whether it fosters price stability and helps reduce exposure to market volatility, supports the diversification of New Hampshire's electric energy resources, contains ratepayer protections, which may include such mechanisms as performance incentives, penalties for non-performance, or others proposed by the utility and determined by the Commission to be in the best interest of the ratepayers. And finally, any other factors necessary to determine whether an agreement is just and reasonable and in the public interest. So that last phrase there, just and reasonable and in the public interest, is a very weighted term in utility regulation that has a lot of meaning to it. So it's not sort of in vague, ambiguous terms at the end there. So with that, I'm happy to conclude. If there's any other questions about sort of the process that's laid out here. Again, the advanced nuclear reactors would be capped at nameplate capacity of 300 megawatts. There's always a risk with purchase power agreements, right? I know this body has wrestled with the Burgess question for a number of years. So it's important that to make sure if you're going to do this, you do it right.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any questions? So the only one I have, we passed a bill, or one of committee here, Senate bill, that talked about putting nuclear energy in making it as a renewable. I forget the bill number, and I'm sorry, but would this be in conflict with that? Because this would limit those power purchase agreements to only 20% of the renewable credits, if I'm understanding this correctly?
I would need to go back and check that bill. It's not ringing any bells off the top of my head, but again, I've been out for a bit, so
I forget the bill number, and I'm sorry. Representative Vos and I had a quick conversation on this the other day, and that's what kind of put it in the back of my head.
Yep, I can go back and check. Just on the surface of it, I don't think, again, it depends on how the other bill is structured, but this would have no impact in terms of if there's any, renewable energy certificates that would be created by such an entity. If they were eligible under a different bill, I don't think there would be any necessarily in conflict, but it depends on how the other bill is structured. But happy to get an answer for you on that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Brown, is Mark here? I don't see him. All right. He didn't check off speaking or not. All right. Anybody else that would like to speak on 710? Drew, come on back up.
Drew Beamer. Site Evaluation Committee. I just wanted to sort of dovetail on what I said earlier, is that there was a line of dialogue in STE where it seemed folks were concerned that this would just allow willy-nilly construction of nuclear facilities. And I just want to reiterate that these things would go through the SEC.
Thank you, Drew.
That's all.
Questions from Senator Rosenwald or I? I have none. I guess none. Thank you.
Everyone out of the room.
Anybody else on 710? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing. Representative Bixby, are you introducing or, sorry, okay. We'll bring Representative Bixby up to introduce House Bill 779. Good morning and welcome back.
Good morning. What's left of you? For the record, Representative Peter Bixby from Dover, Stratford District 13. And HB 779 is designed to allow the sale of rabbit meat in interstate commerce. And this is a bill that did not have an auspicious start in our committee. The prime sponsor did not come to introduce it, so I ended up introducing it. And the commissioner came in and told us a lot of things that were wrong with it, including that the slaughter of rabbits was to happen underneath the statute that covers the slaughter of bison, complete with the requirements in terms of temperature control and season control, etc. And so that wasn't auspicious, but we looked at the intent of the bill and we thought, you know, that's actually a pretty good idea. So we completely reworked it. So I, having been on the committee when we first did the selling poultry and rabbit meat to restaurants bill back in 2014, I thought I had a pretty good handle on how it needed to go together because, of course I wouldn't have forgotten anything over 12 years. And then I started sitting down with the statutes and trying to figure out where things needed to go, and I realized I needed some help. So I called the Commissioner of Agriculture, and Sean was able to give me some very good pointers in a fairly short amount of time. The key thing is that rabbits are considered a non-amenable species by the USDA, so they don't. So they are largely not regulated by the USDA. USDA's only requirement is that the handling of the meat needs to meet state food controls, food protection statutes, which made things much simpler in terms of drafting, because we did have the statute in place for selling rabbit meat to restaurants. And one of the things we did when we put together that bill was we required that anyone who wanted to do that needed to be trained by go through training that is offered by Cooperative Extension, and they needed to register with Food Protective Services and with the Department of Agriculture and meet certain labeling requirements. And we just modified those rules for selling meat at farm stands and at farmers markets. And then having done that, I sent a copy off to DHHS to take a look at it and see if they were good with it. And they caught a couple of drafting errors I had made and sent it back to me and said they were basically did not have any problems with it. So what we now have is a method for selling up to 1,000 rabbits per year that you raise on your own farm, and you sell at your farm or a farm stand or a farmer's market, and they need to meet the labeling requirements. The people who are selling it need to be trained in making sure that what their processes are appropriate and safe, and that is basically what we did with the bill.
So this is essentially just an extension or an expansion of the restaurant program to allow you to sell to farm stand?
Yes.
Got it.
So, and it's a separate 1,000 rabbits. So you can sell 1,000 rabbits to restaurants and 1,000 rabbits at farm stand. But that's basically what the bill does. And I think that with the guidance from both Commissioner Jasper and from Food Protective Services, I think we have a pretty good bill here.
I'll put the question out to you, and, excuse me, and I know that Erica and Michelle are here as well, and if you can't answer it, perhaps they can, but are you aware of any issues that have, any foodborne illness issues that have arisen from the rabbit to restaurant program?
I am not aware of any. I did learn something interesting about rabbit meat, which is that it does not last well in frozen storage, which is a friend of mine had gotten a couple of rabbits from a friend who raised rabbits, and they ate one right away, and it was very, very good, and they had the other one in the freezer for like 6 months or something, and when they cooked that one, it turned out to be so rancid it was inedible. So, so it's just, I'm not sure if that's something that needs to be labeled or anything, but it is something that it's worth knowing about rabbits. They don't. There's something about the composition of their proteins and fats or something that makes them go off sooner than, say, I mean, if you put a steak in the freezer for 6 months, it's still going to be pretty good.
All right. Further questions from the committee? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. It's still morning. So, rabbit meat can cause bacterial illness called tularemia, which is known as rabbit fever. And you don't even have to ingest the rabbit to get that. There was a case I heard about where somebody was like mowing on a median strip and the mower caught a rabbit. The rabbit splashed, rabbit bits splashed on them. But also rabbits can cause fungal and parasitic illnesses. Does that worry you?
I think that is something that is, I think that DHHS can probably answer better than I can, but I believe that is something that is brought up in the workshop that Co-op Extension provides in terms of what the things that you need to watch out for when you are doing this.
Yes. Further questions? All right, thank you. We'll bring the department up, and if you guys, Erica and Michelle, you guys want to come up? We'll let you, I know you're here for info, so you've got a couple of questions that we've asked. And yes, please. All right. Well, feel free to give your presentation, and perhaps you can address the two questions we've had.
Very quick. Good morning. My name is Michelle Roberge. I'm the Bureau Chief for Public Health Protection within the Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health Services. And with me today is Erica Davis, and she'll introduce herself when she does her talking points. I just wanted to let the committee know that the department isn't taking a position on the bill, but through its testimony provided in the House Environment and Agriculture Committee, we did share some concerns, and as Representative Bixby mentioned, those were addressed in the amendment, and the language was shared with Health and Human Services. So, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Erica.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Erica Davis. I'm the section administrator for food protection that is within Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health Services. And as Representative Bixby mentioned, this bill is to expand rabbit sales from just to restaurants to allow for producers to sell at from their farm, the farmer's market, and farm stands within the state of New Hampshire. We did originally have some concerns with the bill because it did conflict with current statute, and it had left out the requirement for education and registration. With the amended bill, this does align the two, the previous bill language and our current regulations. and does require the education and registration requirements. So we did work with the bill sponsor to make those, or to review those amendments. And we'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, well, I'll start. I asked a question of Representative Bixby about, are there any known issues, health concerns that have arisen from the rabbit program that we've had in place with the restaurants for, gosh, 10 years plus now?
We have not had any concerns or problems with rabbit meat to restaurants.
Thank you. And Senator Rosenwald, you had a concern?
Yes, I do have a question. So will the education be done by HHS or by Department of Agriculture?
So the education is provided by UNH Extension, but it's a collaborative educational program. So someone from our department attends, someone from the USDA attends, and UNH Extension is also involved. So that class gives all sorts of best practices and understanding about the statutes, what they can and can't do, where they can sell. And we actually just had one last week was one of the classes that was provided.
So just for clarification, current statute does not allow the sale of any rabbits, even under homesteading or anything, for at any level, directly from the farm, only to restaurants. Is that correct?
Only to restaurants,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Further questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wants to testify on House Bill 779? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. Do you guys want to accept this now, or do you want to hold off till next week?
I'm fine.
You want to wait? Well, I'm willing to offer you, all right, we'll take a motion to go to exec.
Move to go to an exec.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Do you want to make a motion, or you want me to?
Motion not to pass on 779.
And I will second. Discussion? Senator Rosenwald, do you have discussion?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm conflicted about this because I'm just not sure how robust our tracking systems are anymore. And I'm just conflicted about it.
Well, I think it speaks quite clearly to the program itself that we've had in place for 10-plus years, that we've had zero issues, and the department has testified to that, and I think our farmers that are partaking in this process are doing a pretty good and thorough and safe job, and I see no reason not to expand the program and let them open up these markets to sell from their farm and farmers markets.
Well, it might be different people selling directly to consumers than have been selling directly to restaurants. And I think that's the source of my concern, is that I think the restaurant people clearly know what they're doing because they've been tracked. They have to label everything in case there needs to be tracking back to them. Mm-hmm. But I don't see anything in here that says that it has to be the same farmers. So I just,
Well, Senator, if it gives
I'm a
you
little
any,
worried about
if it gives you any assurance, the agricultural community has made a lot of efforts in produce as well to, work on traceability and BMPs that really have been put in place for consumer protection. And I think the farmers that will engage in this are very likely the same ones, but you're correct, there could be a smaller scale farmer that's beginning, but I think the department is good with resources. Both departments, HHS and Department of Ag, are very good about providing these resources and extension. And I'm comfortable in expanding this program, and I hope you'll join us in saying yes.
I guess the last thing I would say is that our public health department is almost entirely funded with federal funds. And I don't know where that's going to go. So I'm just probably more cautious.
I appreciate your caution. Again, I lean very heavily on the past results of the program that we're expanding, and it's been very positive without issue. So let's hope we continue not to need any federal dollars to deal with no more problems. So let's hope there's no more. So, further discussion from the committee? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No? All right. Nay. And with consent? We let it go on consent? All right, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I'll take this one. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. All right, I'm not going to accept any further bills today, especially the ones in energy, because I want to wait until we have the full group here. So I will accept the motion to come out of exec. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And with that, our business for the day is done. We are in recess.